Okay, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. From this point, we should be finished in less than 20 minutes. What I'll be giving you are big ideas with a few specifics sprinkled in. Imagine that we're in an airplane at 30,000 feet, and I'll be pointing out some mountains and rivers without large volumes of detail. What I want to give you today is hope, not math. There are three main sections, and at the end, I'll open it up for any questions. Now, due to the time restrictions of this academic exercise, request that if you do have a question, you make sure that it applies to everyone. If you have an individual question, I will be available afterwards to answer anything that you may need to know. So can we agree on all those questions? Does this sound good to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, very good. Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right. So let me say that I am not an expert, and what I'm about to share with you is not advice, but my personal financial plan. When I graduated in 2001, I was given a diploma, and 6 months before I would have to start paying off a mountain of student loan debt. I eventually paid it off and became debt-free and have remained so ever since, except for a negligible credit card balance that I pay off every month without interest. Today, my net worth is 3 times my annual salary. That may not sound like much, but when I retire in 25 years, I'm projected to have about 30 times that amount. So imagine 30 years worth of your annual salary just waiting for you when you're 65 years old. And all it takes to get there is discipline and patience. So here is my plan, as simple as it is. Step 1, spend less than you make. Step 2, get out of debt. Step 3, build an emergency fund. And step 4, feed your investment machine. And that's it, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Good night. I'm kidding, of course. It is that simple, though, to understand. The execution might be more difficult depending on your personality and how you view money, which brings us to the first of our 3 main topics: money attitude and debt. The only difference between one who is successful with money and one who is not is their attitude. There may be some of you who think that if you work hard enough, you will one day get that certain job that gives you the financial windfall you've always dreamed of, or maybe you'll win the lottery or be cast in a career-changing role. All of these things are possible, but if you are waiting for these events to occur before you get serious about money, you need to change your attitude and see that now is the time to build your financial future. When you have a good attitude toward money, you will be able to reach financial goals and have peace in knowing that should tragedy strike, your bank account won't be devastated. Here's how you should think about money. Money is alive. If you feed it, it will grow. If you don't, it will shrink. If you owe money, it is your master. And if you are owed money, it is your slave. There's a proverb that says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. So let's look at what happens when you feed money. Here we have 3 bank accounts, each with $1,000. The green account has no interest applied, so it never grows. The blue account pays out 10% or $100 every year. So at the end, you will have made $2,000 for a total of $3,000. The purple account adds the yearly interest of $100 to the account. So at the end of the first year, you have $1,100. Now this is where the magic happens. At the end of the second year, you don't get another 100, you get 10% or $110. And the interest keeps feeding back upon itself, getting bigger every year. And by the end of the time, you have over $7,000. So let's look at another example. Let's say you want to have $1 million when you retire at the age of 65. If you are 25 years old and you invest in an account with high interest, you only have to contribute $200 a month to reach your goal. However, if you wait 10 years to start investing, you'll have to put in $500 a month. So let's think about this. If waiting 10 years requires an additional $300 to catch up, then waiting 20 years would require an additional $600 a month, right? Oh no, not even close. If you wait to start investing until you're 45, you'll have to contribute a whopping $1,400 a month to reach $1 million by the age of 65. Now, I hope that makes it clear that the most important element to the magic of interest is time. The best time to start saving your money is yesterday. The second best time is today. So now that you see how money can work in your favor, let's look at how it can harm you if not handled correctly. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that money can be your master. There's another proverb that says, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender." But there is a flip side to that. Not all debt is bad. Student loans and car payments build credit and allow you to move your life forward without spending years saving money to make the purchase. But the fact is, someone owns you as long as you owe them. You need to get out of debt with the same passion a prisoner has for getting out of prison. But you can't do that if you continue growing your debt. Continuing to use your credit card when you are trying to get out of debt is like digging to get out of a hole. So let's say you are in debt. What do you do? As I just said, don't create any more debt for yourself. Take a hard look at your spending and cut out what you don't need. Start cooking more and eating out less. Give up your coffee runs and start brewing at home. Use coupons and search for discounts. Now, if this first step seems overwhelming, then I urge you to find an advisor to help you out. Now, the next step is to attack your debt like the Cobra Kai went after Danielson at the Halloween dance. First, you're going to list all of your debts. Next, find the debt with the smallest balance. As you continue to make the minimum payments on all of your debts, I want you to throw every bit of extra money you can at the smallest balance. The money you save from not eating out, the money you save from cutting cable and using a streaming service, the $5 your grandma gave you for your birthday, throw it all at the smallest balance. Now, some of you might be thinking, shouldn't I pay off the balance with the highest interest rate first? No. As I said at the beginning, this plan is not about math. It's about hope. We are trying to alter your attitude and behavior. Feeling the satisfaction of paying off a debt is fuel for your debt-burning fire. And once you pay off that single debt, then take the minimum you were paying plus the extra and attack the next smallest balance. And you continue paying off and rolling over the payment until you find your financial freedom. And this method works because each account gets paid off faster than the one before, and your momentum chews through your debt. So at this point, do we have any questions from anybody? Don't be shy. Nope, y'all doing good?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Want to keep going?
Yeah.
All right, so that was a lot to take in. So everybody just take a deep breath and let it out. All right, so moving on. Now, the next step to getting to full financial freedom is to build an emergency fund. Now, one of the reasons you were probably in debt to begin with is because you had an unexpected expense. Now, first, what I want you to do is to add up all your monthly expenses. Now, the quick way is to just use last month's numbers. Now, the better way is to add up an entire year and divide by 12. That way you get infrequent expenses like car registration and insurance. Then you're going to take all the money that you were using to pay off your debt, and you're going to start putting that into an emergency fund. And you're going to keep doing that until you have saved 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. And you want to do this before you start investing, because if you have emergency, what are you going to do? You're going to be tempted to take money out of your investment account, and doing so could cause you to pay a hefty penalty. But where do you keep your emergency fund? Well, remembering the power of interest, you want to put it someplace where it will have the greatest chance of growing, and a regular savings account at the bank won't cut it. A July 16th Forbes article showed that the highest rate savings account has only a 1.05% interest rate. Currently, the Vanguard Federal Money Market Fund at Vanguard.com has an interest rate of 1.21%. That is lower than usual due to the pandemic, because I usually have it at about 2%. I recommend using this account because you can make withdrawals in an emergency without penalty. The most important point to remember is that this emergency fund is not a savings account. It is a life preserver that you use only in an emergency. And the best thing you can do is to pretend that it isn't even there until you need it. The best benefit of having an emergency fund is peace of mind. Many Americans are scared right now because they don't have a job, and unemployment benefits have been reduced. But I have no fear. It's not arrogance, it's confidence in the 5 months of savings that I have to help me through. And I want you to have that same confidence. So, any questions about an emergency fund?
Nope. Nope.
Are you sure? Connie, do you know everything about emergency funds?
No, but you're so good at this.
Okay. All right. All right.
Give Dave Ramsey a run for his money.
All right, so everybody take a deep breath. We're going to get rid of that section and move on. All right. So the last point in my plan is investing. This is where things get fun. Now, if you've ever seen the scene from Trading Places, when Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are vigorously buying and selling stocks, then you were probably like me and you had no idea what was happening. Lucky for you, we won't be doing that. We are going to buy a tiny bit of some successful companies every week until we retire without ever selling them. Now, the biggest companies on the stock market make up a list called the S&P 500. This is the benchmark by which every company compares itself. Over the history of the market, the S&P 500 has had an average annual return of 12%, which is far better than any savings account you will find. But the market isn't without risk. Sometimes the market has made a significant downturn or a crash, including after the 9/11 attacks, the housing crisis, and most recently, the pandemic. But over 2/3 of those downturns recovered in less than 6 months. Now, people are emotional creatures, and they often sell their investments when the market dips, which is exactly what you should not do. The best play is to buy a stock and hold on to it. The market is a marathon, not a sprint. Just like your emergency fund, I suggest putting it out of your mind. You should give your investments a glance no more than once a week just to satisfy your curiosity. Checking on your investments every day is going to cause more anxiety and emotion than any practical sense. So let's talk about a good investment to buy. The Vanguard 500 Index Fund with a stock symbol of VOO or VOO tracks the S&P 500 and only costs 3 cents for every $100. Now that's one of the lowest fees in the industry. Now let's take a look at how well it performs. Let's say on January 1st of 2015, you started investing $300 a month into VOO. In 5 years, you would have contributed $12,000, but your total would be over $26,000, a profit of more than $14,000. You would have made $14,000 in 5 years just for moving your money from one account to another. But a monthly contribution of $300 might not be right for you. To find the right number, the most financial advisors are going to recommend that you invest 15% of your income to ensure a safe retirement. So now that you have a plan, where do you put your money? There are 2 places, a Roth IRA and a 401k. A Roth IRA is an investment account that allows your money to grow tax-free and you pay no tax on it during your retirement. But you cannot withdraw the money until you retire without paying a huge penalty. A 401k is also an investment account that you do pay taxes on, but the benefit is your employer will give you free money to use it. Usually companies will match your contributions up to a point, so be sure to contribute at least that amount, otherwise you're leaving money on the table. So let's say you made $100 on your paycheck. My apologies. But this is just for math's sake. You would put in 4% or $4, and your employer would match that, and they would put in another $4. So just like that, you've doubled your money. Now, both your IRA and your 401k allow you to choose which stock or fund you want to purchase. So again, I suggest one that tracks the S&P 500. Now, since you want to be investing a total of 15% of your income, remember to split that number between your 2 investment accounts. So if your 401k gets 4%, then your IRA would get 11%. Now, be aware that the Roth IRA has a maximum annual contribution of $6,000, $7,000 if you are over the age of 50. And when you get within 5 years of retirement, I would switch from buying VOO and start buying the Vanguard Short-Term Treasury ETF. The symbol is VGSH. This fund tracks the slow-moving bond market. You don't want to have your nest egg suddenly shrink from a market crash just before you retire and then not have enough time for it to recover. A portfolio mix with stocks and bonds provides a slower growth, but a better buffer should the market take a downturn during your retirement. So, any questions about investing? I know that can be a big chunk of the plan that can be confusing. So anybody got any questions?
What was the name? S&P 500? Did I get that right?
It's the S&P 500. It's basically, it's something, it changes every day. It's just the top 500 companies in the United States. And it's not exactly 500, it's like 520. But those are like the best companies to invest in. And so what they do is they take the S&P 500 and they make that an index. And so you can chart it just like if it was a company, and you can buy into it. So that's what I do. And over time, it usually is about 12% of interest at the end of the year, which is a lot more than 1% that the savings accounts offer. Anything else? Any other questions? No, you're good?
No.
All right. Well, now you have a plan. So 1, spend less than you make. 2, get out of debt. 3, build an emergency fund. 4, feed your investment machine. Now, these steps will take time to develop, but they will give you a path to financial stability. And once you have all of your accounts up and running, I suggest that you download an app called Personal Capital. It is free and it will allow you to watch all of your accounts in one place. So now it's up to you. Go make some financial peace for yourself. Thank you very much for listening.
Brava, brava.